This podcast was brought to you by the Tampa Bay Podcast Network.
Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of The Little Drummer Girl. I'm your host, Dawn Marie Mutel, and today we have a special guest. Tara Divina is here with us today, and she's going to show us some ways on how you can use the art of developing a creative business so that you can use your creativity and beauty to turn your life around and make money as a creative and so much more. Tara Divina is a heart-healing medicine musician who creates songs to bring our deepest prayers into reality. She draws on her experience as a former vice president at the Warner Music Group to offer business coaching for conscious musicians and visionary artists so that they can build an organic fan base using authentic self-expression and generate a sustainable income using all of their gifts. She is also tapped into karmic patterns, purpose, and destiny through the lens of Vedic Astrology, which I definitely want to learn more about, and I hope you do as well. So she has so much to teach us today, and I really don't want to hold you up. So let's get Tara to join us now. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited because you just seem like you have a wealth of knowledge to teach us, and I can't wait to get you started here. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
You know, I listened to some of your songs and I felt like I was floating on a cloud, that I was just like transported immediately to my Zen zone because I was so stressed out. And when I was listening to it, I felt like I was in the mountains of Ireland and it was wonderful. Okay, I want to ask about your story because I know you had a very interesting background where I'd love for you to share it. I don't want to give anything away. So can you just tell us a little bit how you got into this whole business of music and how you got into the beautiful music that you do?
Absolutely. So when it came time to decide what career to pursue after university, all I knew was that I loved music. And so I decided to pursue a career in the music business, thinking that it would somehow allow me to become a professional musician down the line. And what happened was I actually had quite a successful career in the business. I wound up spending 10 years in New York and Los Angeles. I wound up as vice president at the Warner Music Group. Like everything did work out in that way, but I didn't wind up particularly connected to the music, as is often the case when we go to the business side of something instead of the artistic side of something. I was actually really knee deep in business development and doing deals with companies like Apple and Google and whatnot to try to figure out how to sell music online. So it was a super interesting time because we were making the transition from analog like CDs and records and to digital downloads. And the rest is obviously history on how that all went. But after 10 years, I just thought to myself, gosh, I'm feeling really deeply unfulfilled. I'm not really doing anything that is my own self-expression, and so I actually just walked out of my career with no plan and not really that much of a safety net either, and just trusted that things would work out in a good way.
That's amazing because that's my biggest fear. I was like, okay, I need a safety net. Like, I don't want to just take the jump and be like, okay, because I have been without a job just recently. Like, I do a lot of contract work and being out of job for 15 months because of COVID and having that feeling that I don't know what's going to happen next. It's very scary. And I know a lot of musicians and artists are in that position where you just don't know where the next gig's coming from. So I understand that you created an album that you actually crowdfunded and made a really nice amount from it. Can you tell us how you did that?
Yeah, absolutely. So during my quest to find my life purpose after I quit my career, I ran across a lot of different things that grabbed my attention. And the ones that grabbed my attention the most included some shamanic meditation work that was supported by live music. And as I was a participant in this work and this healing work, I began to get a curiosity of what it would be like to start to sing in these circles and sing in these venues. And so I remember the first time I shyly opened my mouth to sing at the end of one of the evenings we spent together. And it felt so amazing to return to the music. It had been 10 years since I'd really even picked up my guitar. And then I was motivated to learn a song for the next one and so on until I found myself co-facilitating these events and actually being one of the main musicians, and so that was really exciting. And I began to write music, and the songs were touching people's hearts. They were having a really profound experience with them at the events. And it took me about 5 years, but one day I woke up and thought, it's time to record an album. And I just kind of woke up, decided to do it, put together a crowdfunding campaign, and had sold it out in 12 days because there was some demand at that point, like just from a small group of people. It's not like I had a huge fan base, but it doesn't take that many people to crowdfund for an album that's under $10,000. And so I was really excited, and it gave me a lot of courage to know that I was supported. And then I went and created the album in about 4 months. It only took 4 months to record it and produce it and put it out there. And I was so happy with the results. And people have been reporting to me that they've had life-saving experiences with the music, like that a song actually came to save their lives at a moment where they were feeling at a crossroads, or had a miscarriage or divorce or a breakup or a death, that those songs were able to support them in that way, which is exactly what I always wanted, and really beyond any dreams I had ever had around being a musician. I never knew that was possible.
That is amazing. I can only imagine. I mean, I always feel that, if you could just touch that one person with your artwork, that it's part of like your kismet, that what you're supposed to be doing. And, you mentioned something about how some of us sometimes can, have that shiny object syndrome where, sometimes we're going after the wrong things. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
I think going after our true soul work is so scary, and it brings up all of our fears of rejection, our trauma, our nervous system, our attachment system. Everything comes up to scream at us, danger, danger, don't go this way, anything but this. And when we're not putting out our soul's work, it can feel easier. It can feel simpler, like there's less at risk. For example, people often say they have an easier time selling or promoting someone else's things or someone else's work. It's because it doesn't feel like a life or death experience to the ego, to the identity. So I think we can get caught in chasing after things that are almost the thing, but not quite, like something that's part of the way there, kind of like me in the music business. Hey, getting a job in the music business out of thin air is not an easy thing, but I did it. I climbed the corporate ladder and I had a lot of success. And on the outside, I had the life, the abundance, the salary, the connections, the lifestyle, the rock and roll lifestyle, the apartment, the people, the friends, all of it. And yet my heart was empty. And I think that's the question that we all get to ask ourselves is my heart full? Do I wake up in the morning feeling excited and go to bed at night feeling fulfilled? And if we can't say yes, and we can't say yes for a long period of time, we're probably chasing after the wrong things, and we're probably afraid, and rightly so. It's very scary to put ourselves out there.
It's so true. Like, I wonder how many people that will stop them, like the fear of, like you say, rejection, or the fear of being laughed at or being mocked or whatever it is, that can just stop you from really doing the thing that you're meant to do in the world. And, I know, like when I was a kid, I remember my brother saying, oh, my singing was terrible and blah, blah, blah. And I really felt afraid to sing in front of anybody else, because I'm thinking, well, he's my older brother. He knows best, right? Little did I know he was probably just messing with me, but it scarred me. And so it's like, it stopped me from singing. And I think that's why I got to drums. I became a drummer, because I felt like, well, I'm not a singer. I do love music, and I love, rhythm and all that stuff. But I think a lot of people, I always say, do it afraid. And even if you just do it as a hobby, you start out, you just take one step at a time, right? And then next thing you know, even if it's just a few years down the line, you can be really like going a long distance if they're working on it every day, just a little bit a day. So like, do you have any tips to kind of get people to get their creativity to get sparked up? Because sometimes, we stall out in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a few specific things that I generally guide people to look at or ask themselves when they are first seeking out some inspiration. For example, you may not even know what medium you want to work with. Like maybe you don't know if you're a singer or a writer or a painter or a dancer, any of that. And to that, I say you can apply this to any medium. And I would just say pick them all, choose them all, try everything, because we can't know until we try. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is I look at where I am focusing on in my life, what my personal prayer is for my life at that time. So it could be like, maybe I am really thinking about my love life. Maybe I'm praying for a partner. If I was praying for a partner, there's definitely been times in my life where that's been the case. And so there might be a lot of creativity there in terms of my yearning and my longing and my desire. And it's going to be a very vulnerable place to create from, but it's where my attention is already. And so it just makes sense. It's like our creativity and our inspiration want to go where we are. And a lot of times we're like, well, let me just go somewhere else, besides this place of yearning and desire. But that's where a lot of the energy is locked up. And really what's alive for us right now is the thing that wants to be created and wants to come through, not some other thing that we think we're supposed to be thinking about or supposed to be focused on. So that's number one. Number two is inside of that prayer or that desire, what is the guidance coming through around the pieces where we're suffering? So let's say I'm thinking, oh gosh, how am I ever going to find a partner, the love of my life? What do I need to do? How do I navigate this time of loneliness or whatever it is? And I might tune in and start to channel some wisdom, which could be, again, in the form of words or in the form of music or in the form of dance, from my guides, from my high self, from whatever it is that I believe in. There's going to be some wisdom that wants to come through. And for me personally, this is actually where most of my songs come from. Is I'll be sitting there in distress, honestly, about something. And this is the message to alleviate the distress. And it just so happens that humans are all stressing and distressed about the exact same things. Like we think we're so unique and so special. And it's not true. We all have the same prayers, the same suffering. We're all the same. Okay. And there's just a few themes, a few variations on a theme. And so it just so happens that the guidance that comes through for me is generally applicable and resonates with most people, which is, I think, how we wind up creating a resonant piece of art, a resonant expression. Those are two things. Another piece I would just say is, what's the thing we're afraid to express, the most afraid to say? Like the scariest thing we could possibly say, the thing we would never say, the darkest corner of our minds is the thing that people want to hear the most. Like it's going to be the most popular thing we ever put out there. The deeper we're willing to reach, like into the scariest corner of our consciousness, the thing that we are the least willing to share is going to be the thing that is the most well received and the most resonant. And so for myself, my viral posts, my, the writing that I've put out there that's gone viral, the music that's been most popular has always been the stuff that I've been afraid to say. So what we're not saying is a big deal. And then the fourth place that I recommend going for some inspiration is to judgment and comparison. So, for example, if you've ever been scrolling your news feed or your social media feed, and you see things that make you cringe, judge, compare, you hear that voice in your head that's like, which P.S. we all have. Everybody's doing it to us and we're doing it to them. Nobody's immune to this. There's actually gold there. If we ask the judgment some questions like, okay, what are we judging? What's the problem? And then my favorite question is, what would I have the person do instead? If I was God and I got to decide what they should be doing, what would I tell them to do? And then why? Why do I think that's the case? And underneath that, we start to get at some of our core values and our the pieces that are important to us. So, for example, for me, one of the things that can make me cringe is if let's say I know somebody or I know some things about them, and then I see them posting on social media something that's not the truth. They're sharing about their lives in a way that's not true. It triggers me. And so why is that? Why do I care? Who cares, right? Well, it's because I have a deep value of authenticity and being ourselves and being myself. It's important to me. It actually has nothing to do with that person. And then that could spawn, or for me, it spawned song or several songs that really about that. It's about having the courage to shine my full self all the way through. So comparison and judgment can be transmuted into some really powerful sources of inspiration. So those are my favorite 4 places to look and to start looking. And I definitely encourage anyone to, or encourage you to try playing around with those.
I like that a lot. It's almost like, the truth will set you free. And like you say, we bury a lot of things sometimes as people, I think, because we are an emotional human being. And so we have all these different feelings and emotions. And sometimes I think we do have, like you say, you're judging and this and that. So we can lock ourselves up because of that too, because we're shutting down the wall basically to say, oh, whatever the thing we may be saying that's just going to stop us from doing something else. But I like the way you say you turn it into something by using it to your advantage. I love that. That's really great. Is there a way that we can communicate a little bit more in tune, from the heart, so to say?
Yeah, like how to get to the essence of what's really true for us in general. I think it starts with knowing what it feels like when we're in our truth and what it feels like when we're not in our truth. This is something that I often start with my clients. What does it feel like when you are a yes to something? And what does it feel like when you're a no to something? And it's actually amazing. Most people aren't sure, and especially when it comes to big things, when there's a lot of emotions involved, it's very difficult to discern what the heart is saying and what the mind is saying. So one distinction I have is that the mind is complicated and the heart is simple. The mind is going to have a lot to say about something, with details, complexity. It's harder to understand. It's confusing. The heart is just kind of binary. It's like yay or nay. Is this good or bad? Yes or no? Let's, in or out. And I like to say the mind has questions and the heart has answers. The mind's always like, well, what about this? And blah, 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 blah. And the heart's like, yes, no. So one of the ways that we can begin to discern our yes and no is by trying it out on things that are uncomplicated. So something I find is uncomplicated for most people, maybe not everyone, but most people, is food. So I might say, imagine a food that if I offered it to you right now, you would want it for sure. So I'm curious, is there any food I could offer you right now that you would want?
Oh, I'd love a slice of pizza.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have in my hands the most delicious, perfectly hot, epic slice of pizza. Would you like it?
Oh, yes, please.
Great. Okay. So clear, right? Yes, please. And so I would just say, where in your body do you feel that yes, please?
I feel it here in my heart.
Feel here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does it feel like? Is it warm? Is it cold? Expansive? Does it contract?
It just makes me feel like a slice of coziness. It's like it's a home cooked meal for me, pizza from New York. It's just like one of those staples.
Great.
Yeah.
Does it feel like you're moving towards something? Is there any sense of like pizza? Like if I'm holding it up in front of you, is there like any opening or movement towards the pizza, or do you have a different experience?
No, I could definitely see me going toward it rather than being repelled by it.
Great. Perfect. So then what is a food I could offer you right now that 100% sure you don't want?
Anchovies.
Anchovies. Oh my gosh, I love them. I would put them on the pizza. I get it.
Pizza,
not everyone likes them.
It's tough to do.
Okay, so I've got a bowl of anchovies in my hand. Would you like it?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, that's great. I love it because you kind of went, no, thank you. I saw the little contraction and it kind of looked like you went up here a little bit. I'm curious where you felt it.
It's true. I did feel something there because it's like I shudder, like to think of, to see those little fish sitting there, it's just like.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, and it looked like I saw you contract. Did you feel that?
I didn't really feel it. No.
Okay.
It's funny that you saw.
But you felt it right here. What did it feel like?
It just felt like, it's kind of like stay away. I don't want to see them. They're just not, pretty to
Yeah.
me, appealing or appetizing to look at.
It was a clear feeling of no, thank you. Right. And so if we practice this, we can, so this is our yes and our no. It's like pizza's yes, anchovies no. And like once you can keep those as bookmarks, right? And then it's like, do I want pizza for lunch or a salad? Do I want to go left or do I want to go right? Do I want this business or that business? Do I want to move into this house or that house, this city or that city? And as we get to the more complicated things, if we can simplify it back to, does it feel like pizza or anchovies? Then we'll always know what our guiding light is. We'll be able to communicate about our heart and from our heart. We'll know our truth. And it's the gateway to fully knowing our truth and being able to connect with that inner wisdom.
I love that. That's the first time I'm hearing it that way. And I'm going to have to remember that next time I have some big decisions. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing how time flies so fast. We are almost at the close here. And I just wanted to see if it's okay with you. I love to do a quick little 11-stroke roll rapid fire interview with you, just on some of the favorite things or not so favorite things that you may like. Are you up for that?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. The first one is, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm an early bird now.
Were you a night owl once before?
I was. One day it just flipped. I don't know what happened.
I hear you. I think it was the music business because I used to work for their labels too, and they had me out late every night. So.
Very good point.
But we were both, because you had to get up early to go back to the office in the morning. So it's just not fair for us. Your favorite musical instrument?
It's going to be guitar because that's what I play. But I would say there's an honorary mention of the handpan. I don't play it, but it's just so beautiful.
It looks amazing. I'd like to try that myself. One thing you can't live without?
Chocolate.
Oh. Your favorite beauty ritual?
Bathing. I pretty much live in the bath. I'm essentially a mermaid.
I love that. Just went to see some mermaids. If you come into the Tampa area, you got to go see the mermaids out in Weeki Wachee. They have a spring there and they have a beautiful mermaid show.
Sounds amazing.
Pretty cool, yeah. Your one item that you can't live without?
An item. My Siberian cat.
Ooh,
does it count?
Beautiful, yes. What's one of your biggest takeaways about being in the music business?
That everybody's just making everything up as they go along, including me.
If you could do one thing besides being a musician, what would it be?
Probably more acting and more video.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite saying or quote that you love to use and keep you going when the times get tough?
You know what? I just wrote this down. It's like my new favorite quote. Give me 1 second just to bring it up. Okay. It's by Bill Bryson. And the quote is, "For all you know, your route could describe a very large, pointless circle. In a way, it would hardly matter." And I love this concept of the pointless circle because sometimes pointlessness is really beautiful.
We can keep chasing our tails, right? Going in a circle like you see a dog do or a cat do. A favorite meal? What's your favorite meal?
Gosh, I have so many. I would say right now it is a ground turkey bolognese on top of spaghetti squash.
Oh, sounds lovely. And the last but not least, what is one of your biggest pet peeves?
Biggest pet peeves is being stuck in a line.
So you have patience like me, huh? One of the things I learned to do years ago, because waiting in lines is very, I'm always like, come on, I gotta go. So what I started to do was I read it in a book years ago, and it was like, I take out my little notepad and I start writing notes of what I want to do. And next thing I know, like, oh, wow, I'm halfway through the line, so it keeps it keeps it going. Plus you're getting something accomplished while you're waiting online, because I hate to waste time, because that to me is it's like you're wasting time when you're standing online for a long period of time. So I always say use it wisely, think of song lyrics, think of the list of things you want out of life, write your goals, whatever you got to do, write a letter to a friend. Next thing you know, you'll be at your destination. Well, Tara,
Great way to channel that energy. I love that.
thank you. We are about to wrap up here. I just want to know how people can stay in touch with you, your social media handles, and all that great stuff.
Thank you. I can be found at taradivina.com, and my social media handles are all the same, Tara Divina. So just TARADIVINA. I can be found on Spotify if you want to listen to the music. I will have a new single out soon. I'm so very excited to share it. And so you can find that again on Spotify or my website, Instagram, Facebook. These are the places that I frequent.
What is the name of the new single?
Grieve.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It is.
That's cool. And you also mentioned that you did have a course that you were going to be putting out as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we'll be starting November 1st. So you'll be hearing this, I guess, right as we're starting. And the course is called Admission, and it's all about discovering your life purpose and figuring out what your core message is so that you can express it in a way that is compelling and inspiring and concise.
I love that. And I did want to know, what I forgot to ask you, what exactly is Vedic astrology?
Great question. So my very first purpose discovery after I quit the music business was Vedic astrology. And I had never had any interest in astrology before, but I had a reading with a Vedic astrologer that blew my mind. It's an ancient Indian form of divination. So it's predictive as well as helps us understand ourselves better by shedding light on the blind spots that we have so that we can navigate our destiny with more grace and ease.
Now, is that through like a like kind of a tarot card or something, or?
Yeah, it uses our birth chart, which is a map of where all the planets were against the backdrop of the constellations at the moment we took our first breath, and when we were the most impressionable, and when we were imprinted upon by the energies in the universe.
Oh, that's awesome. So how long have you been studying that?
I began studying that just over 10 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I just I love when you get a good reading. I've had some people, out in New Orleans one time, and it's just amazing when somebody hits on something, and you're like, and it was about the music business too, which was kind of funny because at the time I wasn't in the business. And he's like, you're going to be in the music business doing this stuff, but it's music that you don't like. And I'm thinking, what is this guy talking about? I mean, I knew I played music, but I didn't think I'd be in the business, like in the office business type of, business. And so, yeah, sure enough, I was dealing with rap and all that stuff. And I'm not really a rapper by any means, but so yeah, when somebody hits on something, it's pretty amazing. And I always say, if you heard something that could really be a truth for you, like definitely, keep it written down somewhere, because I love going back to say, hey, look, they said that back in, whatever year that was. So do you do readings for people?
I still do readings.
Nice.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in that, you can find out more at visionaryreadings.com.
Perfect. Well, Tara, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to hear your new single and meet you in person one day.
Oh, that would be lovely. And thank you again so much for having me and for this lively conversation.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, you heard it here first. So don't forget to start at her websites and stay in touch. And if you haven't joined us on the Facebook group, come on over to facebook.com/groups/Little Drummer Girl. That's LAL Drummer Girl, and meet some like-minded folks so that we can all groove together over there. All right. And remember, it's never too late to live the life of your dreams and leave a trailblazing behind you. So rock on and rock out, and I will catch you on the flip side. Until the next time, I'll see you then.